Today on Jerusalem Dateline, the IDF prepares to fight its mortal enemy, Hezbollah.
Getting ready for anything to happen.
Plus, meet Iran's new leader. Some say he's a moderate who wants to reform the Islamic regime. Others say he's just the same as the old boss. And the new ministry that helps explain the mysteries of the Islamic faith. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. We're coming to you from the Israeli-Syrian border. Behind me is Syria and the town of Quneitra. Just recently we've seen signs of fighting between the Assad regime and the Syrian rebels. Israel wants to stay out of that conflict, but it is preparing for a possible future war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Recently we witnessed one of their latest training exercises to prepare for that possible conflict. This is the Harev, or Sword Battalion, preparing for war. CBN News got a rare look at this live-fire exercise. This battalion specializes in fighting in northern terrain. In any future war, they'll be the first ones across the border. For example, in the Second Lebanon War in 2006, they were the first ones in and the last ones out. Lieutenant Colonel Shadi Perez is the battalion commander and oversaw the exercise.
The goal of the training is to improve the service of the battalion for war focusing on the battlefield terrain, similar to Lebanon against Hezbollah.
For 2 days and nights, the battalion's commander put them through a series of surprise scenarios, maneuvers, and then threw the soldiers into the middle of this mock battle. It included tanks and live ammunition.
We came here to the Golan Heights and performed live fire exercises. With all this preparation, we will be ready to face Hezbollah.
For the IDF, preparing for war is a way of life.
We should always be ready. This is one of the reasons we're making this exercise.
Hezbollah is now deeply involved in Syria's civil war and fighting for Syrian President Assad. It's been weakened, but still represents a formidable enemy for Israel. Israeli intelligence estimates Hezbollah has 50,000 rockets in its arsenal. A few thousand of those rockets could reach Tel Aviv. The Harev battalion would likely be the tip of the spear in a future war with Hezbollah. It's made up completely of Israeli citizens from the Druze community. Druze speak Arabic and are considered very patriotic. Many fight not just because they're soldiers, but because they're family men, like Lieutenant Monir Hamoud.
When I look towards the Lebanese border, I can see my house and my village. I'm protecting my home and family. That's why I'm here. I'm a married man with 2 children, providing them with everything, even my life, so that they will be happy. When I look at my soldiers, I'm reminded of my people. I'm ready to do whatever it takes for them and my family.
No one knows when a war may break out on Israel's northern border, but for now, this unit will serve as Israel's eyes and ears in the north, their watchmen on the wall. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Golan Heights. Hezbollah is just one of Israel's enemies. The biggest one is Iran and its nuclear program. After 8 bombastic years of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Iran has a new president. His name is Saeed Hassan Rouhani. But who is he? And does he represent the change the West is hoping for? Iran's new leader is Western educated, speaks 6 languages, with a long resume in Iran's Islamic Revolution. Unlike the abrasive Ahmadinejad, he presents a softer image. His election led some Western leaders and media to brand Iran's new president a moderate who can change Iran.
Nothing is going to change. There's going to be a new style. There's going to be an Oriental bazaar.
Hebrew University professor Moshe Sharon says Rouhani differs from Ahmadinejad in style, but not in substance.
You should expect in the coming few months some kind of an overtures by this nice-looking man. He's got a fatherly face, speaks the right language, speaks the language which he knows that the West wants to hear, while exactly continuing with the plan of Iran to enrich uranium.
He's a clergy, as I said. He's Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, which is a high degree of clergy, not Ayatollah, but pretty high in the ranks of Shiite Islam.
Iranian expert Tamar Gindin says a cartoon posted on Facebook shows the essence of Rouhani's election, where he's shown painting a beautiful Iranian missile.
It looks much better, but it's still a missile. And he said himself that they're not going to stop the centrifuges.
While the president is the face of Iran, the real power lies with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei.
Don't think that Rouhani is going to develop his own policy. There's not going to be such a thing. He's going to present a policy which is going to continue to be created by the Supreme Leader.
Those policies include Iran's nuclear program, its support of Syria, and an alliance with Russia. Rouhani also has a long history in a regime that persecutes Christians, tortures dissidents, and built the world's largest terror network. When Rouhani served as Iran's chief negotiator, he boasted that Iran's nuclear program advanced during his negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu calls that game talk and enrich, which allows Iran's nuclear program breathing room. Some believe he might be more dangerous than Ahmadinejad.
He can be more dangerous from this point of view that he is going to say things which you want to hear.
Sharon warns the West might be headed to an unfamiliar Oriental Bazaar.
Everybody who was in Oriental Bazaar and knows the negotiations in Oriental Bazaar knows that there are certain rules. Unfortunately, the West doesn't know the rules.
While the West takes stock of Iran's new president, both Gindin and Sharon say the centrifuges will keep spinning, while Iran draws closer to a nuclear bomb.
The danger is that because he's nicer, he can buy more time. And then it might be too late.
We talk more about Iran, Syria, and the rest of the Middle East with John Waggy and Julie Stahl from our CBN News headquarters in Virginia Beach. John, I'll start with you. We talked just in this last story, there was a warning perhaps from one of the Iranian experts that since the new Iranian president is nice, it might delay things. What's your views of what the Obama administration and how they're going to respond to Iran's new president?
Well, Chris, if there's one thing that the Obama administration has been consistent about, and there haven't been many in foreign policy, it has been that they don't want to take a confrontational approach to Iran. We saw that in the battle in the streets when people were protesting the elections in 2009. We've seen it on several occasions, and so I think the Obama administration will use this opportunity to say, hey, we've got a moderate president, we've got a new shot at negotiations, and I think Iran will use it in turn to try and delay with talks the progress on their nuclear bomb, which is what they want to achieve. And I think the Obama administration will be a willing partner in at least sitting down with them.
So do you think this could take negotiations several weeks and months on down the line?
Sure. Just talking about negotiations can take weeks, and then you get into the negotiations themselves and you buy more time. So yes, a delayed process for sure.
Right. Julie, what do you think about from an Israeli perspective? Do you think this might be lower the timetable in a possible Israeli military strike against Iran?
Yeah, Chris, this is basically like a nightmare scenario for Israel because they've been saying already for a long time that Iran is just stalling for time to be able to just develop its nuclear bomb. So this could, step up Israel's timetable for a strike. I don't think Israel's interested at all in a military confrontation if it can be avoided, but they're not interested in wasting time.
John, on another issue, the Obama administration has finally decided to arm the rebels that are fighting the Assad regime. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't think they wanted to arm the rebels very badly. They've delayed for months on the whole question about it. And I think that they had to finally because they have allies like Turkey and the Saudis, people who are very upset that Assad may be regaining a foothold in this country, and they want to see the rebels armed. I think that it's a very serious issue. I know, Chris, that based on your story, you were on the Golan, and so was Prime Minister Netanyahu, and so was the Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon. I wanted to get your thoughts on how serious you think the Israelis view this.
I think they're taking it very serious, John. I mean, by the Prime Minister going up there today, I think that was a huge public relations step just to make sure that Israel and the rest of the world knows how serious they consider it. We were at an IDF training exercise. They were actually preparing for a possible conflict with Hezbollah. But Syria, I think, is an even more pressing issue for Israel right now. And when we were up there, we could actually see smoke coming out of Quneitra, which is just a few kilometers away from the Israeli border. And they know that it's real possible that this civil war could eventually come over the border into the Golan Heights. So they're taking it quite serious. Julie, you've been up there too and seen some of the fighting from a distance. What do you think Israel feels right now in how they can respond to any possible spillover to the Syrian civil war?
Well, you know, Israel is already, or we assume it was Israel, taken steps to get rid of weapons within Syria that were headed for Hezbollah. I don't think Israel is looking for an all-out war, but they have said they won't allow Hezbollah to get weapons or other terror groups to get weapons. I don't know exactly what kind of military action they would take, but I mean, this is also arming the rebels. Israel has basically said all along, why don't you just let it play out on its own? Don't take action for one side or the other and see where it's going. Because Assad, yes, he's very bad, but, you know, the rebels could be much worse.
It's sort of the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't know. And I think there's a deep concern in Israel what's going to happen if the rebels eventually do take control. Well, John and Julie, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in another edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Up next, Understanding Islam and Its Followers, the new DVD series that's helping Christians introduce Muslims to Jesus Christ. Welcome back. For many people, Islam remains a mystery, a religion they don't know much about. Now, a new DVD series teaches people about Islam, and it's being done with the help of former Muslims.
Most Muslim immigrants come to North America for educational and economic opportunities. Others come to escape oppression. On a rare occasion, some, like the Tsarnaev brothers, harm the nation that has welcomed them. Wajdi Iskander is a former Muslim from Sudan.
Suddenly, when they come here, they change. They change to be fanatic.
Government can only do so much to protect us from Islamic fanaticism. So how should we respond beyond praying for our nation? A new Christian DVD teaching series called Truth Unlocked provides spiritual and educational responses.
I think it's going to help our nations, our countries, to be well equipped to deal with terrorism and to also deal with the people here that we need to take care of, the Muslim people that God brought here for us to give them the gospel right here.
The Truth Unlocked DVD series provides an understanding of Islamic religious beliefs. Tim Clemens is co-producer of Truth Unlocked.
This came about with just our kids interacting with other Muslim kids within their school, and I felt very ill-equipped and ignorant towards another culture that had moved in.
El Hayat Women's talk show host Amani Mustafa appears on the Truth Unlocked DVD. She is a former Muslim who says Westerners should understand Islamic culture before establishing a relationship with a Muslim.
A man and his wife are welcoming a couple into their home, and the man of the house would extend the hand to shake the hand of the wife. Instantly she's offended because she's veiled and she's not supposed to be shaking a man's hand. Right there he broke a rule. So it takes a while for us to correct these things.
Terror attacks like the Boston Marathon bombing may cause people to shy away from pursuing a relationship with Muslims. Mustafa says Christians shouldn't fear sharing their faith because Muslims hunger for closeness to God.
When a Christian person come and present to me the God that he loves and worships and live with, that is an eye-opener and a heart-opener to many of us. And we see today that when Muslims are offered the freedom to choose Christ, they do. by the millions.
And Christians don't have to read the Quran before witnessing to Muslims.
I think it's a lot more important for them to understand what the Gospels say, how to relate the Gospel to them, to the Muslims.
Mustafa says Christians should tell the truth.
Ask him about what is that God, who is that God you're worshiping, and tell them the truth. We don't worship the same God, and let me tell you why.
A follow-up DVD called Far From Home, A Different West will be available in the near future. Most evangelism tools are created and presented by Western Christians. This one is done by former Muslims who now follow Jesus.
The Christian, they explain it in a Christian mindset, but now you have kind of a convert, a believer in Christ from the same background, who understand exactly what they're going through because we went through it.
One that addresses Muslim misconceptions and questions about Christianity.
It's my neighbor, it's my coworker, it's my child's schoolmate. They're individuals who need Christ as much as anybody else, as much as I needed Christ.
A revelation replacing acts like this with more of this. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Up next, our talk with the mayor of Jerusalem.
Why do you want this job?
The 700 Club Scott Ross meets with Nir Barkat. Welcome back. One of the goals of the Syrian rebels is not only to defeat the Assad regime, but also conquer Jerusalem and make it the capital of a future caliphate or Muslim empire. Palestinians also want to make it the capital of a future Palestinian state. CBN Scott Ross talked with Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat about why he likes his job and the future of the city.
This may seem like a silly question. Why do you want this job? Because this is one of the most contentious cities in the entire world. You have all these issues surrounding you, and you want the job.
Well, somebody's got to do it, you know?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that Jerusalem has huge potential.
Yeah.
And when I, as a philanthropist and as a business entrepreneur, when I viewed some of the trends in the city, I realized the city is not exploiting its full potential. So I decided to retire. And ever since, in the last 11 years, I work for a shekel a year for the future of the city.
A shekel a year?
Yes, indeed. I love the city.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a life mission. And I feel that I'm in a very important mission to develop and create and bring Jerusalem to its potential for residents, for tourists, for entrepreneurs and business people, make Jerusalem more attractive and fulfill its role.
More than just a religious city.
Well, the fundamental holiness of the city, the spiritualism of Jerusalem is the key to its uniqueness.
Right.
And also the fact that so many people care about the city. It is unique in many, many ways. There's nothing else like Jerusalem. So on top of that, you want to expand the experience. You want to make sure that the residents and the visitors also enjoy Jerusalem and make it more attractive from year to year.
Yesterday we were at Damascus Gate, and there was a lot of verbal contention over the dividing of the city. Pre-67, the city's back whole again. Do you want it to be divided again? Because there's a lot of talk.
You know, to better understand the DNA of Jerusalem, I'll take you back 3,500 years.
Okay.
When the people of Israel came to the land of Israel, the land was divided to the different 12 tribes. Each tribe had a piece of land, created their cities, way of life. We had the Holy Temple. And Jerusalem was not divided to tribes. Jerusalem was the only place that was not belonging to a specific tribe. And Jews and non-Jews alike, when they entered the gates of Jerusalem, they all felt a feeling of belonging, respect. The city has a role to play. It's the center of the world for all of the religious people, the monotheistic religions. And we have to maintain it like that. It cannot be divided. It will never function as a divided city. It has to be one physical city, enabling all to worship their faith their way, to respect each other, and there's room for all.
Can you convince Palestinians of that?
The Palestinian residents that live in Jerusalem understand that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm also a high-tech entrepreneur, a venture capitalist.
Yes.
It will never work. There's not one good example of a city that was split that ever functioned.
Right.
And unfortunately, Jerusalem did not function for 2,000 years when it moved from conquer to conquer until it was reunited. And now we have to make that model work better from year to year. And thank God, today you look at Jerusalem, its economy is going up very nicely. We're growing fast. The job numbers, the number of jobs created every year is doubled, and the last year is triple than it was 5 years ago, from 5,000 to 10,000 to 17,000 last year. Crime rates, murder rates are dramatically gone down. We're 10% of an average American city in murders per capita, per every 100,000 people. And you see that the dynamics in the city are very, very positive. Look around us in the Middle East. Cities that are enemies of Israel, that want to destroy us, are falling apart.
Yeah.
And the ones that cooperate with Israel, the Israeli Arabs and the Arab residents of Jerusalem, the more cooperation there are with Israel and in Jerusalem, the better off everyone does.
One final quick question,
Yeah.
I know you have to go. There are people praying for the peace of Jerusalem all over the world. Does it make a difference?
It makes a big difference. People that care about the city, that wants its success, help.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of the people around the world that understand that DNA. They understand that I as Mayor of Jerusalem and the government of Israel, respect them wherever they are. We will be happy to host you in Jerusalem peacefully so you can see and practice your own faith your way. Like the evangelical, the Catholics, all the Christian threads and thoughts. They're welcome to Jerusalem. Come and enjoy the city, go back home as an ambassador of peace. Pray for our city, pray for the unity of the city, pray for the openness of the city. Same with Muslims, same with, of course, Jews. When you care and you want to come peacefully to enjoy Jerusalem, you will do that and enjoy that.
May God be with you, sir.
Thank
you got
you,
it.
Thank you very much.
Up next, Jerusalem Dateline gets some help from teens from the U.S. Recently, the mayor of Jerusalem sponsored a light show around the walls of the old city of Jerusalem and a photo contest. And 3 members of our CBN News team won the People's Choice Award. Congratulations go to Annika, Yehuda, and Jonathan for their photo of Annika dancing in front of a lit globe. Well, that's it for this edition. Along with this team from Philadelphia, the Sattel Teen Fellowship, I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on
Jerusalem Dateline. Shalom!